Watch this. Watch this. Watch this. The Bible says that the enemy heard what God had done. The question is, what had they heard and why had they heard? Because Israel was only now crossing Jordan. Joshua chapter 3, verse 14 to 17. The Bible says, when the people set out from their tents to cross over the Jordan, the priests bearing the ark of the covenant were in front of the people. Now the Jordan overflows all its banks throughout the time of harvest. So it is very difficult to notice, not to notice the Jordan River at time of harvest. It is overflowing its banks. So when those who bore the ark had come to Jordan, and the feet of the priests bearing the ark were dipped in the edge of the water, the Bible says in verse 16, the waters flowing from above stood still, rising up in a single heap far off at Adam, or all the way to Adam, the city that is beside Zarethan. While those flowing towards the sea of Arabah, the Dead Sea, were wholly cut off when the people crossed over Jericho. No, I want to understand this. The city of Adam was 20 miles away from the waters of where the waters of Jordan were parted. 20 miles away. But God, imparting the waters, allowed people from 20 miles away to notice that something was happening. God was creating a spectacle. Let me say that again. God was not just parting Jordan, he was creating a spectacle. He was driving fear into the hearts of those who were witnessing it. When God, church, is working on our behalf, you are not the only person seeing the miracle. When God is doing something powerful in your life, the enemy actually has a front row seat to it. You are not seeing this thing by your... When God is a God of spectacle, when God does something, church, God does it big. Let me talk to this side below here, because they're real quiet. When God does something, he does it real big. When God heals you, God does it real big. When God delivers you, God does it real big. Everyone must notice, because everyone must realize who did it. Sometimes something big happens and you're going like, who done it? Who done it? When God does it, you have no option but to say, God did it. He parted the Red Sea. He delivered me from sickness. He did it. Tell your neighbor, he done it. Who done it? He did it. Verse 17, the Bible says that while Israel were crossing over on dry ground, the priests who bore the ark of the covenant stood on dry ground in the middle of the Jordan until the entire nation. Now the amount of people who crossed Jordan were almost 3 million people. So watch this. The priests are standing in the middle of Jordan. People are crossing over. 3 million people are crossing over Jordan. And the priests who were carrying the presence of the Lord, they're standing in the middle of the Jordan. And the waters of the Jordan are piled up around them. And the priests are standing in the middle. The presence of the Lord is standing in the middle. And the people are crossing over. The Bible says, as soon as the people had finished crossing over, and the priests crossed over in front of the people, about 40,000 armed men who were armed for war crossed over before the Lord to the plains of Jericho. The Bible says, on that day the Lord exalted Joshua in the sight of Israel, and they stood in awe of him, and they stood as they had stood in awe of Moses. And when the priests bringing the ark of the covenant came up from the middle of the Jordan where they were standing, and the sole of the priest's feet touched dry ground, the waters of Jordan returned to their place and overflowed all their banks again as before. Now here's the thing. Where Israel crossed over Jordan was about 8 miles from Jericho. If 3 million people are camped 8 miles away, it means that Jericho could see what God was doing.
Stay tuned for another episode of Daily Truths for Living with Bishop Dr. Mark S. Harewood. God bless you.